Hey guys, Scott here. Today we're going to go over patch 9.5.0, which should be coming out in 3 weeks and is currently on the PTB at time of uploading this. I'm going to be going over most things in here. I'm not going to go over like Trickster and all the Trickster changes because I want to actually play him first before I give any information about that. Honestly, that's an entire video because I do think there's a lot to discuss there and there's a whole bunch of changes for him. So a little too much for just a quick patch note summary, but let's go over the new survivor and the new perks and perks that were updated and changes, things like that. So obviously we got the new map, and let's go over the new perks for Kwan Taeyong. And the flow state is kind of weird. It's like you kind of get the effects of perks that already exist when the game is over. So you basically you get botany knowledge when all the gens are done. You get like Giga Counterforce when all the gens are done, and you get No One Left Behind when all their gens are done. The thing is that's interesting is you can stack this with those perks. So really the thing I'm most interested in to see here, like this is whatever, cleansing totems faster, might help you with Noah at an end game. Like that's nice if you find it early. Healing faster, I mean, this is again just conditional botany knowledge, so that's whatever. This is the thing I'm interested in because this will make you unhook 50% faster during end game. If you combine that with No One Left Behind, that's going to be 100% faster. If you combine that with injured people with desperate measures, you're looking at like 140% unhook speed, which might be so fast the killer can't even down you if you go for a 1-for-1 trade. So I want to see what the interactions are in terms of the speed of unhooking there, because that sounds pretty wild. And if you can actually get a 1-for-1 unhook, it's not even 1-for-1, it's just a 1, and then you just run away. So that could be pretty insane. Other than that, the perk is sort of whatever, but I'm really curious about that last aspect of it. A place for us. Whenever healing survivor, you both gain elusive. When you finish healing the obsession, they gain elusive for 30 seconds. When a trial starts, you're less likely to be obsession. So this is sort of like a different bite the bullet because you'll still make sounds while healing them, but then after they are finished healing, then you will have elusive, which is like the best form of stealth in the entire game. It basically combines like Iron Will and Lucky Break, so you have no scratch marks or sound or really anything. You're very, very hard to detect. So combining this with bite the bullet basically is the you don't know that I'm healing, and then once the heal is finished, you definitely don't know that we healed because there's absolutely no real way of detecting them short of visually seeing them with your face. So other than that, though, I don't think this perk's that amazing. It's fine. Like, it's not really great or it's not great or bad. It's just sort of whatever. It won't be a meta perk, but it's interesting. This shit's kind of crazy, though. When you're in the killer's radius or chased by the killer, this is 5 moves ahead. You see the auras of the 5 closest pallets and windows, and you drop pallets 50% faster. Whenever you drop a pallet, there's a 20-second cooldown for it. So whenever you're in the killer's radius or chased by the killer. So it's basically conditional windows of opportunity. But that's also the only time you need to see the auras of the pallets and windows. It's not like you need to have a perfect layout when there's no one pressuring you. So this is just straight up better than windows of opportunity, and you also get a faster pallet drop. This is pretty situational. It's going to basically be in those scenarios where you drop a pallet and get hit through it. Now you likely won't get hit through it because the animation's being cut down. So that's really good. That's like a very, very solid thing because how many times do you get hit through a pallet as you're dropping it? This will basically fix that. But then they also just threw on windows of opportunity on top of this perk. So I don't really understand why this perk is like this. It's just better and has more stuff to it. It's just a straight up power creep to windows of opportunity. So I'm willing to bet this is going to get nerfed in some way because it makes no sense. You have windows and then another effect on top of it for free. So it makes no sense. This is literally just pay to win like bullshit. I'm not even going to sugarcoat that. It makes no sense. It's that strong. So they're going to nerf some aspect of it. I'm not sure what, but we'll see. Next is the whole Trickster section. Like I said, we're going to go over that with an entire separate video. I'm not a particularly knowledgeable Trickster player, so I need to actually play it a bunch to really get a good opinion on that. So we'll go over that later, and there's a lot of changes. But moving on to the first, they actually shortened World Breaker, which is the time where he can actually damage you with a fine attack. They shortened that by 10 seconds, which is pretty significant. So that is going to be something that players are actually going to notice. The charge sound effect, when you hear like the little shing when he's like ready to fire his attack, it actually plays a bit earlier now. So you have a bit more time to react to it. I never really thought that was an issue. Basically, if you heard that sound and you dodged immediately, you would have plenty of time to actually physically dodge it. So I don't think it's necessary or even going to do much, but they did that. Apparently, his lunge was bugged, and he had a shorter lunge than normal. He had the old 4.4 killers had a shorter lunge because it was tied to their movement speed. Now he has a regular lunge. So I remember commenting on that on the PTB. I felt like I was swinging through pallets and not hitting people, but everyone called me crazy. Who's crazy now, motherfuckers? I told you it was different. The first add-on, so really the only notable ones are Bloody Roller Skate, which has been nerfed from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds. This is when he pops out of the Undergate. He actually has that 20% haste for 2 seconds. Now it's 1.5, so that's somewhat significant. Rabbit Remains is basically a required add-on for playing this killer. It went to very rare, so it's going to be a bit harder to get. It now gives Exhausted for 10 seconds, and it also increases your cooldown by 5 seconds. For how required that add-on is, I have to imagine people are still going to run it because, like I said, Sprint Burst, Overcome, basically every exhaustion perk completely deletes this killer. So every good Vecna is running this every single game, which does heavily neuter those perks and makes them a lot stronger. So people are still going to run this even with the downsides. Pizza Goggles, this one was interesting. This was the one where it makes your Undergate attack very tiny, but it shortens your cooldown. So it actually shortens the cooldown by 25 seconds, but it also now shortens the cooldown of coming up out of the ground. So not only will it shorten the cooldown of your power, but you can actually perform actions a lot faster now. But the AoE is still, baby tiny. You're never going to hit a player with it. This is now just the map control add-on, and it allows you to pop out of the ground a lot quicker and recover faster too. So that's really nice. So I would consider that to be a buff. Other than that, most of his other add-ons weren't really used. Shattered Wrist Rocket was one that was used, and now it's uncommon instead of common, but everything else, it's usually a combination of one of like those 3 add-ons. So I would say side grade and nerf to Vecna overall. Yeah, especially with this, that's pretty sizable. So is he going to suffer for it? Not really. They didn't change his cooldown of his Vine attack. It's still endlessly spammable. He's still a very good killer. Nothing has really changed that. The Ghoul got a couple of very, very minor changes. The reticle stickiness on a survivor was decreased. That might actually be a buff for good players because reticle stickiness basically meant whenever you had a survivor highlighted and you tried to switch to something else, there would be like a little bit of a buffer window where even if you clicked and you weren't highlighting it anymore, it would still go onto that first guy. So this will actually allow for more precise aim. The only thing I could say is this will make it a bit harder to aim on console with controller. But for the most part, this will actually make a Ghoul ironically a bit stronger on mouse and keyboard because you'll have more precision to hit exactly what you want to hit and not have that weird delay there. Now, the vocabulary update, like I said earlier in the last video, there's basic breaks, basic vaults, special vaults, damaging generators, and generator explosions. These are just terminology changes. They updated a bunch of descriptions to involve that. It's just to streamline the whole vocabulary of the game, which I was ambivalent towards it, sort of whatever. Very notable thing, though, that I saw elsewhere that is not actually in the patch notes. Spirit Fury, I guess it is in the patch notes now. Spirit Fury says that it just involves destroying pellets, so basic break or special break is not relevant. So Spirit Fury actually wasn't nerfed at all. So the developers just completely confused the fuck out of us for no real reason. They said nothing was changed, then so it showed a description of Spirit Fury with a very changed move and how it actually charges up, and then they just reverted it back to not being changed again. So apologies for me confusing you, but it's because the developers don't even know what they were doing with it. So I'm just reporting on what they do, and even they were confused. So Spirit Fury apparently is not nerfed whatsoever, and this is really just a verbiage type thing, so you don't have to worry about that. Again, Fog Vials I talked about earlier as well. We saw how it changes. Basically, it's now for a distant range obfuscation instead of using it right in the killer's face, and it's actually very good at that. So just use it for smart purposes like that. Plot Twist. Now, it actually changed. They basically changed how Plot Twist interacts with a bunch of perks like Infectious Fright or Forced Hesitation. Basically, Plot Twist can't trigger these effects, and that's just so you can't, I guess, troll your teammates or something like that. Walk next to someone that's getting chased and then down yourself, Forced Hesitation procs, and then the killer slows that player down and they go down. I guess it was just to account for those types of scenarios. Fast Track was also a bit buffed. You now gain 3 tokens up to 9. When repairing, you had a great skill check. Spend all tokens for each token spent. It generally gains 2 permanent charges. So, but basically, this thing right here, this basically applies minor mini BNPs to it instead of just doing a giant chunk of regular progress, which is somewhat significant, I guess. I still don't think this perk is very good because it involves your teammates dying to charge it. So basically, the worse your team is doing, the better this perk becomes. But overall, I think that's just an interesting way to make that a bit better. Now, a lot of the progress that you apply to it becomes permanent. So that's pretty good. This Unbreakable change, I don't really understand. They said it's only you could only recover when the killer was responsible for you entering the down state. So the only other thing I can think of is like plot twist, because that's the only way you can physically down yourself. I was thinking maybe if you fail a deep wound mending timer, that's still the killer eventually resulting in your down. So that should still work. I'm not really sure what they're cooking with this. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me what exactly that change means, because I'm not really 100% sure why they did that. Crowd control got a little bit of a rework as well. Whenever survivor, medium, or fast vaults a window, the totem ignites as usual. And then the last 6 windows that were vaulted are now blocked. Your basic vault blocked windows are 15% faster, and you see the auras of blocked windows in 24 meters. So a little bit of a minor update to crowd control. It's not something that's just, I guess, active at default. Actually, was it active at default? I'm actually not sure. I'm pretty sure crowd control was active at default. So that might be a little different, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Pop Goes the Weasel, in its 77th iteration, is now 50% progress from 20. However, it's 15% total progress from 20% current. So this is actually a buff to Pop Goes the Weasel. The original form of Pop was, I believe, 25% of total. Then it went to like 25% of current, then 20% of total, then 20% of current. Now it's 15% of total. So maybe we'll see 15% of current a year from now. But this is actually a buff, because 15% of total progress is going to be better than 20% of current. Because, I mean, unless the generator's at like 99%, then it'll be a very slight nerf. But for most aspects, this is going to be a pretty significant buff to Pop Goes Weasel. So that's nice for any pop enjoyers. Then we have the perk descriptions update, the vocabulary change, the auras, and all that stuff that I've been over. Everything else is mostly the same here. You can also track your prestige levels now by clicking on the prestige level, lets you access and track your progress. It's just a little minor quality of life thing. Nothing too big. I'm just trying to get through this as fast as possible because, like I said, a lot of the stuff we've already talked about, and the Trickster stuff is really just coming out later. But that's it. That's basically the patch. I'm going to be testing it on the PTB today and going over Trickster and the new map and all that stuff. But that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.